Hi, Anwar.
John, how are you?
Good, good.
Yeah, one of my friend, introduced, like his business model, like last time, just like last time,
Mm-hmm.
regarding college saving. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
once yours is done. Okay,
Okay, so once I'm done, got it, he'll present.
like were there any students actually enrolled with you?
No, no, we had some follow-ups, but we did not have any enrollments yet, so we're excited to see if, we had about 7 or 8 consultations, and
Hmm.
then we had the conversation, we walked them through our offering recommendations, but nobody signed up.
Yeah, yeah, we need to look into other kind of population. Maybe we need to do some sort of hybrid thing. Few hours you are doing and the remaining, maybe other college grads will do something. We got to do some sort of hybrid thing, right?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
We can post in the WhatsApp group. Please join now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, do you want to do that?
Yeah, yeah. Antra already posted.
Okay, got
You
it.
are here, right?
Yes,
So we've got 2 in the waiting room right now. So I'm not gonna let everyone in
Okay.
at the hour.
you can pause the recording. Yeah, when we start, then we can start the recording.
Okay. Let me see. Hi everyone, it's John Gard. We're gonna get started in a few minutes. We still have some people joining. Hi everyone. For those of you just joining, we're gonna start in about a minute. Thank you for your patience.
We start, Mr.
Okay, all right. Give us 1 second. Yes. Wonderful. Alrighty, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, we can see us.
Excellent. Wonderful. So thank you everyone for taking the time to come out to our event today. So today's topic is going to be how to build a medical school profile starting in high school. As you know, many students and parents are interested in learning more about this topic. So we're so excited to be presenting to you today. We're going to have a few folks coming in throughout the meeting. So as a reminder, please hold your questions until the very end. If you have a question, please type it into the chat and then we'll get to it at the very end of our session today. So, just some context, in terms of anchoring this discussion, right? Most pre-med students typically don't make it. And for those of you that have attended any of our earlier sessions, we had one where we talked about this 60 to 70% dropout rate. And that's a pretty staggering number. It's not something a lot of students and parents talk about. And most students start building their profile in college. Maybe they were on the fence when it came to, hey, do I want to do medical school or not? So the key difference that really sets apart students that are admitted to top medical schools from those that aren't is really planning starting in high school. Okay? So because when you have that long-term strategy in place, you can really set yourself apart. So what are we going to cover today? Okay? We'll talk about how med school admissions work. I think it's really important that you understand that they're going to go beyond the GPA and look for other things in your student's profile. We'll also talk about the 5 pillars of a strong pre-med profile. We'll also sort of have like a roadmap, year by year action plan that we'll talk about today, and then we'll go into some of the common mistakes and how to avoid them. And if you stay tuned, we're going to have a special offer. I'm not going to tell you when we're going to announce it, but we are, and it's going to be something you'll likely be interested in. So, I know I didn't do an introduction at the beginning. I wanted to mix things up today, especially for those of you who are joining later. So, my name is John Gardisi. I'm a senior educational consultant at Open Admits. A little bit about me, I'm a Harvard grad and former interviewer. I have a strong sense of what elite institutions look for. I've lived all throughout the country, in Texas for several years. I'm from California. I lived on the East Coast in Hawaii. I've worked with students from around the world. I also have over 20 years of experience in admissions and test prep. I also got a perfect score on my SATs. So if you have any questions about test prep, I am quite knowledgeable about the subject. And also I have a strong track record placing students from across the country and around the world in top Ivy League and STEM programs. And I also have experience with direct med, BSMD, BSDO admissions. So I know I said hold all the questions until the end, but I have a question for all of you. My first question is, where are you starting with your student? So typically folks who come to our events have a student in middle school. It's a great time to start exploring and thinking about your interests. Ninth grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, or you're just exploring. So I want you to type in the chat what grade your student is in. And maybe you have more than one kid at home or one student at home, but maybe give us the oldest student that would be interested in our services. So we have a 10th grader. Okay, and if you're going to send me a message, if you can send it to all. Okay, let's see, 9th grader, 10th grader, 9th grader, 11th grade, middle school. Okay, so we've got some folks that are even starting a bit early. Wonderful. Okay, great. All right, and yes, I know the chat for all is disabled, so that's fine that you're sending it to me individually. Okay, wonderful. Now let's get started and let's talk about this landscape of medical school, which is so competitive. And year over year, I also do help with medical school applicants and applications. So folks that are in college, wrapping up, or immediately out of college and looking to apply. So the numbers are unforgiving. The expectation is that you have at least a 3.8 GPA, at least a 5.10 MCAT if you're looking at top programs. But those are table stakes in this game. Really what you want to also have is research experience, so spending time in labs, getting clinical exposure, shadowing, volunteering at hospitals. You also want to showcase your leadership skills. So how have you demonstrated leadership over time? And then also service. So how have you been a resource for people around you? And so these experiences and opportunities don't materialize in college. They are built up over years. But you can start in high school. And so it's important that you begin your planning as early as possible. So let's think about a timeline for your student, right? And what that training ground is going to look like for your son or daughter. So in high school, you're building up the foundation, the academic and experiential foundation. Taking classes, participating in clubs, competitions, volunteering, shadowing. So that's where you're really developing that interest as a high schooler. And then in college, things start to get a little more serious. You have to complete pre-med coursework. Oftentimes, students are participating in research and clinical hours, getting themselves really set up for the med school application process. And then you have your MCAT. So this can typically happen at the end of college. It can happen after. So you take your MCAT and you gain some more experience. And so that standardized testing and that application building continues to happen. Next, you have 4 years of medical school, and then you have residency, which can last anywhere from 3 to 7 years. So every stage of this process will build on the previous stage. And if you have a weak foundation in high school, the other stages are going to suffer, and it becomes easy to be part of that 60 to 70% failure demographic. Now let's talk about what medical schools are actually looking for. So these admissions committees are looking for great physicians, okay? And what does that mean? It doesn't mean just doing well in your classes and doing well on your tests. It means that you have a strong foundation of academic excellence, okay? You're taking challenging classes, you're doing well. You've got a genuine scientific curiosity, so you're displaying a scientific mindset in everything that you do. You also are really passionate about serving others, so it's very, very important that you have that ability, particularly for underserved communities around you. You're also gaining clinical exposure, so it's really important that you're spending time in doctors' offices, hospitals, different types of clinics, because that's where healthcare really happens. And so they want to know that you are able to thrive in an actual healthcare delivery environment. And then there's also leadership. Okay, so leadership is important. So in leadership, it's really important to showcase initiative, ownership, the ability to inspire your peers. And you don't necessarily have to have a lot of fancy titles. Okay, you can showcase leadership through a variety of means. Okay, as long as you are starting initiatives, you're showing ownership, you're able to get people to follow you. That's all very, very important. And then with resilience, okay, Your ability to bounce back from challenges or failures is very critical. Okay, it's a must for any physician. So that's super important. So it's really good that you can showcase that. And so what is the 5 pillars framework? Okay, so we think of these 5 pillars as pretty important in building out, your profile. And for me personally, I've worked with countless students, not only applying to college, but then helping those same students apply to medical school. So what are we looking at? So we're looking at first academic strength. In high school and in college, you want to have that strong GPA, you want to be rigorous in your coursework, and you really want to develop that mastery of STEM subjects. And then you also want strong clinical exposure, making sure that, you're out there in the world gaining experience, okay, in healthcare, patient contact. And then also you're participating in research, okay? That's really, really important that you're out there and you're thinking critically about, research questions that may be of interest to you. And of course, you have community service. Now, regardless of whether you are going to be a med school applicant or not, I consider community service to be the most underrated aspect of a student's profile. And then finally, leadership, which we've talked about. Again, initiative, ownership, the ability to drive impact. And that impact is what you're actually going to demonstrate in your medical school application. So when it comes to listing your activities on what's called the MCAS, which is the most common application form for medical school, it's the primary one for the MD programs, you're going to want to be able to showcase your impact. So let's go into each of these pillars in more detail. So first off, you have academic strength, right? So your GPA is going to be scrutinized when you apply. It is important for you. So folks, if you are on a call, please place yourself on mute. Otherwise, you'll interrupt our presentation. Thank you. Let me see if I can do something. Perfect. Okay, great. So, all right. So again, I mentioned GPA is foundational, but rigor is also very, very important. Okay. So you want to be able to take the hardest STEM classes. Okay. So this really signals that you can handle medical school. And then you also really want to work on your time management skills and your ability to manage stress, because those types of students typically are much better suited to succeed in medical school. So what are some of the courses you can be taking? So typically when you're preparing for a medical school experience, or for medical school in general, you're going to take courses in biology, chemistry, physics. In high school, that corresponds to AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Physics. Okay, these 3 core subjects are going to be tested extensively on the MCAT, okay? And then you've also got, math, calculus, and statistics. So take AP Calc BC if you can in high school. And psychology. This is really important. It's increasingly more important as medical schools want students that can demonstrate emotional intelligence and they have the ability to navigate patient interactions in a healthy way. So remember, testing is important. Okay, testing can set you up for success in the long run from an admissions perspective. So it helps you if you get a strong SAT or ACT score. It helps you access top universities. It helps you gain research opportunities that many students don't get. And it also helps you access scholarships and merit aid. So for those of you that are aware of the National Merit Scholarship qualifying test, the PSAT feeds into that program. Additionally, some schools like USC, the University of Southern California, look at SAT score as one variable in whether or not they will give a student merit-based aid, not need-based, merit-based. So it's important that you do well on that SAT. Also, a few years ago, we had the rise of test blind and test optional admissions. For most people on this call today, you will have to take the SAT or ACT. Some universities, like the University of California system, are test blind. So it doesn't matter whether you take the SAT or ACT, but if you're particularly based outside of California or even in California and you're looking at private universities, for the most part, most private universities and even most public universities now really want you to be taking the SAT or ACT. Okay, so that was the academic portion and testing. So now clinical exposure. It's really important wherever you are in your healthcare educational journey that you understand real healthcare environments, that you build exposure early, and that you can showcase your commitment that you are indeed ready to be a doctor, okay? And there are many, many hours that you can spend working in a clinical setting that will give you the exposure that you need. So what are some of the opportunities that you can pursue as a high schooler? There are lots of high school volunteer programs. They're structured. They often happen at local institutions around you. So you can participate in volunteer programs. You can participate in Red Cross and first aid training. Lots of local Red Cross chapters work with high schoolers. There's also EMT certification. This is particularly helpful for older students, okay, students age 16 and up, okay? So it's really, really important in terms of building out your credentials. And there also are lots of different public health initiatives like community health fairs, vaccination drives, public health programs. There also are opportunities at, let's say, clinics in your local area or doctor's offices. So if you have a family friend or even a relative that has a private clinic, getting involved and supporting them can be really great. And then the third pillar that's really important for students is research. So research is becoming increasingly important, and it will eventually help define your career as a physician. So why research sets you apart? It helps you develop your scientific thinking. Okay, it often is very much so required at top programs, and it also helps you develop compelling application content. Okay, so research is very, very, very important. And there are lots of research programs that you can do in high school. Even before high school, there are many programs that take 8th graders. And it comes down to finding the right one. And so that's where working with a counselor like myself, we can help you identify what is that right research program for you. So in terms of research opportunities for high schoolers, they typically fall into a few different buckets. So there are summer research programs like PRIMES, RSI, SSP, the alphabet soup of summer programs. And so these place students with, internships, particularly in research settings, with, doctors, PhDs, even sometimes PhD students. And so it's important that you find ways to access them. And again, working with a counselor, you can identify them. There also are science competitions that you can join, like Regeneron, Siemens, regional science fairs. And those are really, really great for building up your profile. There's also faculty mentorship. So some students will cold email professors at local universities, and that can work, but more often than not, you typically find yourself going through a structured program, especially if you're living somewhere like the San Francisco Bay Area, where there are so many ambitious students looking to in this process. And then also we have internships, wide range of internships, sometimes through hospitals, sometimes through companies, nonprofits. So for those of you that are on the West Coast, maybe you've heard of ASDRP. It's a very famous research program. There also are lots of them in, just different areas that are existing as partnerships between universities and, nonprofits to help give research opportunities to high school students. And then the next pillar is community service. Now, I consider community service to be an underrated part of a student's application, okay? So it's really, really important that volunteerism, serving others, being a resource in the community is a big part of who you are as a person. And so it's really important that you're consistent, that, in terms of tutoring and academic support, you engage in those types of activities because they fundamentally help the next generation of scientists and doctors. You also are working with underserved communities, and you are able to, do things like working at homeless shelters or food banks. Those are all really, really great opportunities for you. As a reminder, please hold your questions until the very, very end if you've just joined, okay? So yes, please hold till the end. And then public health outreach. So, if there's a health concern that's really important for your community. Let's say your community of origin, your neighborhood, your religious community, people in your local area. So being able to engage in different types of outreach can help you a great deal. And then finally, let's talk about our last pillar, which is leadership. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier that leadership is very, very much so an important part of what you're doing. Remember that leadership is also not just being a president or an officer, but it can be starting something new, can be mentoring others. Okay. So the best leadership roles often aren't about prestigious titles, but they're about owning a challenge and seeing it through. And what you can also do is you can package that in your medical school application. So we'll definitely talk more about that in the future, diving into how the medical school application process actually works. So today, what we're going to do is really focus on kind of the high level big picture. And so I have another question for everyone in the audience. So I want you to take a minute or two and do an honest self-assessment in terms of evaluating where your students' current strengths are. So from an academic perspective, how strong is your students' GPA and course rigor? How are they doing from the perspective of research, clinical exposure, service, leadership? Okay, so take a minute, all right, and maybe what I would ask everyone to do is identify one area where they feel their student needs the most help. So take a moment, look through these 5 different areas, and then type in the chat, what areas your student would need help in. All right, so let's see, research and clinical exposure. We've got clinical exposure and leadership, research and clinical exposure, research. Okay, wonderful. All areas except academics. Okay. So remember, the gaps you identify today generate the actions for tomorrow. So every gap is also an opportunity. And that's why working with a counselor, you can really grow in this process. Okay. And again, academics, I saw a couple academics responses. That will be foundational for your student. Okay, so let's look at the high school pre-med roadmap. So in 9th grade, you're exploring and building habits. You're focusing on your GPA, you're developing strong study habits, and you're participating in science or health-related clubs. And then in 10th grade, you're going to start volunteering and shadowing, researching local university programs, identifying, science competitions and activities, etc. And then 11th grade, you're deepening, SAT, ACT, summer plans. So this is where it's important to pursue competitive summer research or clinical programs, really take that SAT or ACT strategically, okay? And then in 12th grade, focus on leadership and applications, okay? That's when you're working intensely with a counselor like myself who's helping you package your applications and, packaging yourself, I should say, in your application. So working on the Common App, the activities list, the UC essays, the supplemental essays, making sure you're asking the right people for recommendations, etc. So, what does a competitive profile look like? So let's say you're a high school student, you're applying to college, you've got a 3.9 unweighted GPA, you've taken classes like AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Physics, AP Calc across all 4 years of high school. You've done original research, like maybe you've spent a year working with a mentor, a research mentor. You've had some clinical exposure, right? Volunteering at like a local, maybe you've spent time in a physician's office. You've also got some leadership roles at school, right? You founded a health literacy club, you ran monthly community workshops, you've participated in service consistently, okay? Let's say tutoring at a Title I school. You've got sustained commitment, not just hours. So regardless of whether you're going into medicine or not, remember, impact is more than hours, okay? And so depth, impact, that beats quantity every time. And so there are common mistakes that derail most pre-med students, right? If you just focus on grades, it's very easy to ignore those other aspects of your profile. If you have too many random activities, that can show that you don't really have seriousness and a coherence to what you're trying to present. If you start too late, you know, that can show that, you don't have that sustained commitment to be a doctor. So it's important that you start early. And that also, if you don't have a long-term strategy, like you didn't try to build on your activities and really grow, then that could also be a challenge for you. So remember these common mistakes as you're thinking about your own trajectory as an applicant to medical school. And so in terms of choosing the right colleges for pre-med, it's important to choose strategically. Try to find universities where there are lots of active research labs. You can participate in co-authoring papers and participating in faculty-funded research. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, please hold until the very end. Hospital partnerships are very important. So your ability to, work in a hospital setting is important. Also, check in on the pre-med advising. How well does your school support pre-med advising? And also in terms of clinical access, on campus or nearby clinics, are there opportunities for you to get that medical experience? Okay, so how can parents support students? All right, so as parents, you all know how to be supportive, right? You've been your kids' greatest cheerleaders. You've always consistently, checked in on their activities and their academics. So what's really important is that you encourage, their genuine interests. You should support their consistency. Help them maintain those commitments over time rather than jumping around from activity to activity. Help students find mentors, okay? So connecting your student with physicians, researchers, professionals, that's really important. If you have a Rolodex of, people, that in your network, it's really, really important. And also, help your student develop good habits. So burnout is very common in the medical profession. Make sure they're not pushing themselves too hard, okay? Give them time for rest, relationships, non-academic activities. Those aren't a distraction. That's actually essential to their long-term success. Okay, now comes the limited time offer. So if you showed up today and you are interested in getting your student the guidance they deserve, we have a special today. Only today, $19.99. If you attended today, you have access to this. It's a comprehensive pre-med strategy package. So what we do, you have 2 hours of one-on-one strategy with me, okay? This is, for your high school student. So basically helping you develop a roadmap, what your kids should do in high school, what colleges they should apply to, what majors, etc., what summer programs, the list goes on. Then you get also 10 hours of essay support with an open admits coach. So they're going to give you the writing guidance you'll need to complete your college applications. And 10 hours, having done this for many, many years, is more than enough. Okay? You'll also get a personalized roadmap and application strategy. So this plan will cover your activities, your testing, your college selection, and your milestones, your time from a timeline perspective. This is really good for juniors and seniors. For rising juniors and seniors. So if you're, let's say, a 10th grader now and going to be an 11th grader, this is perfect for you as well. Also, if you feel like you're starting a bit late and you need support, this can be great for you. And also, if you really want an expert in your corner, like you've been to 100 webinars and you really want to cut to the chase and get to the person that's going to help your student the most, here I am. So limited spots are available. My email address is john@openadmits. So if you're interested in scheduling a session with me, john@openadmits.com, that's my email address. And then you can have a free consultation before you sign up. So I wanted everyone to know about this. I think this is a really great opportunity, and this is very, very competitive pricing. So yes. Okay, wonderful. All right, and so let's continue on. So I've given you this special offer. Now let's talk about how we help families like yours win. We focus on that long-term strategy, like multi-year plans. Personally, my youngest students have been 5-year-olds. My oldest have been 45. So we know how to handle multi-year plans. We can help with research and summer planning. We have lots of connections and partnerships with professors, labs, medical programs, etc. We have a very experienced staff that knows how to do essay support. And then also from a college admissions guidance perspective, we're really good at strategy, helping your student think about where they want to go from a college admissions perspective. So just some key takeaways for everyone today. Strategy is important. It's important that you think about the 5 pillars that we've discussed today. And this helps you from cramming and outperforming, etc. Busy work. Focus on depth, not breadth. I think another way of phrasing that is impact over hours. Okay, a lot of times students think that they're doing X, Y, or Z, and because they've been doing it really hard, that somehow that's going to give them some recognition in this process. But remember, depth matters more than breadth. Going very deep in 4 activities is better than going superficial in 10. And so remember, it's to build across all 5 of the pillars we talked about: academics, clinical, research, service, and leadership. If you're weak in any one area, that can cost you your entire application. And remember, start early, okay? And so the students who get into top medical schools start their journey in high school, and that should be important to you. So what are some of the next steps you can do right now as a high schooler? So get clinical exposure, okay? Volunteer, do some Red Cross training, shadow, continue to build strong academic foundations, so make sure you're challenging yourself academically. Find mentorship, okay? So identify an adult, a physician, a researcher, an educator, somebody that's passionate about helping you become a doctor. And that can also be a counselor. And start planning now, because it's really important that you begin this planning as soon as possible. Okay, so at this point, I know we just had one person hop in. I want you to feel free to ask me anything. So in terms of pre-med strategy, research, activities and profile building, and then admissions, what do the best medical school applicants look like? Feel free to ask me anything. Again, my contact info is john@openadmits.com. Okay, so if you have any questions or you want to schedule a follow-up, please email me. If you participated in today's call, you can book a free 30-minute consultation, and then the offer still, the $19.99 offer still holds. So we do have limited spaces, but we would love to hear from you. So with that in mind, I want to open it up to questions, and so you can put your questions in the Q&A, and then I'll answer them. And again, please stay on mute. Okay, clinical exposure and leadership, our first question. Oh, I'm sorry, does sports play any role in medical applications? Not really. Generally, whether or not you were an athlete, it's a nice to have, but it's not something that's a must. Okay, so next question, knowing I want to get into healthcare, should I quit 2 extra things that are unrelated, like FBLA and varsity basketball? Yes, I would recommend focusing on medical related activities. And then we have a question around, foreign students interested in medicine. Basically, if you are interested as a foreign student, you can certainly prepare for a pre-med course of study. So I encourage you to set up a consultation with us, and then we can walk through kind of the more detailed perspective you should take. Okay, all right, so we answered a few questions here. If you have any other questions, you feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, so what are the best places to look for scholarships? Okay, this is a great question. So I would say some of the best resources are like Peterson's, scholarships.com, the College Board. They tend to have really good databases that you can look for scholarships. Okay, so would I say that having a good GPA is better than taking health classes? Because those tend to bring down your GPA. No, it's not better. They're equally weighted. You want to have both, a good GPA, particularly in your healthcare classes. So both are going to be important. Okay, there's another question. There is a med tech class at my child's school. Would you recommend that class for her? It provides shadowing in their senior year and allows them to get certified in various clinical tests and participate in HOSA. Yes, I would go for it. That would be a very great experience. Another question, do we need to have all the criteria that you've mentioned? Research, clinical exposure, volunteering hours, internship? Yes, and yes, if you're going to become a doctor. Do any type of volunteer programs work, or do you only recommend hospitals? Any type can work, but the ones that are the best, that are the most medical related, like the ones at hospitals, are usually ideal. So right now somebody mentioned, they have a child that will go into 12th grade this September, and they had just moved from Canada. So maybe you can't get all of them, but I think starting right now is a great time to begin that process and journey. And that's where working with a counselor, you can slowly build up and really set your child apart in the process. They still have time. So let's say a kid applied to all major medical institutions and not get selected. What should the alternative in this case be? So it depends on what institution. Is it undergrad, medical school? They could probably spend a year. They could also do what's called a post-bac, where they basically spend time redoing classes and getting more experience, and that can help them. Another question, can the kid do the research study in high school being a sophomore? What do you suggest? Yes, there actually are lots of programs that I can recommend to you, and that's why I encourage you to schedule a consultation. John at Open. Okay, so another question is, do you strongly suggest taking physics? Because you're taking biology, chemistry in the next 2 years, and then bio AP in 12th grade. Yes, I would say you want to have at least 1 year of physics. And even within physics, there's an AP physics that's not calculus based. And so taking that can help you. Another question, what is the cutoff GPA unweighted for most medical-based colleges? So it varies. So if you're looking at medical schools, which is after undergrad, you'll find some that allow like a 3.6, 3.7 GPA, but they're usually not the best programs that you would want. So that's typically the cutoff if there is even one. But for the more competitive programs, you're looking at a 3.8 or above. Okay, another question is, how do you find clinical exposure for middle schoolers? When I reached out, they usually look for college students. So there actually are lots of paid programs out there where they do work with 8th graders. So if you're interested, again, schedule a consult, John at openadmits.com. For high school, what is the cutoff GPA for the pre-med track? So if you're applying, it depends on your major and whether you're going to do a BS MD program or a regular program. I would say you're looking at, you want to be 3.6, 3.7 and above. And that's on the low end. That's for going for non-competitive schools. For more competitive schools, you're looking at 3.8 and above. Somebody has also a question about quitting orchestra because it's not related to medicine. Yeah, I mean, orchestra for medicine is a nice hobby. You don't necessarily have to be in an orchestra for medical school. It's a nice to have. Wonderful questions, everyone. I'm really impressed today. Okay, let's see another question. What kind of clubs do you recommend to start in your high school? Okay, great. So in terms of clubs, you could start anything medical related, like a HOSA, a Red Cross, a Medical Explorers. If you already have some of these clubs, maybe start like a volunteering club of any sort, like a science tutoring club, for instance. So the medical terminology, AP psychology, principles of health science, and clinical rotations, are they good for pre-med application? Yeah, those would be great. So, take those. What are the best majors to apply for pre-med? Oh, that's a wonderful question. Any major actually officially works. But if you have a science-related major, it's easier for you to meet your pre-med requirements. So any science-related one, from public health, environmental science, bio, chem, physics. Another question, if your school doesn't have AP Psych, should I self-study AP Psychology? No, I recommend taking an online course through, let's say, the Florida Virtual School or UC Scout. Programs in the summer worth it? Increasingly, yes, especially for younger students or students who don't have other options for research and shadowing. And here at Open Admits, we have actually filtered out a lot of the programs that don't necessarily work well versus the ones that do. So yes, in many cases, they are worth it. Another question, I heard taking some easy major would help in getting more time for prep. Is that correct? Not necessarily. You could even do your MCAT after you graduate, like in the summer after you graduate. So, and then another question, I'm a 10th grader and when I call hospitals for volunteering work and they give options like greeting patients, is that what you mean, volunteering in hospitals? Yes, that works for you as a 10th grader. You're a hospital volunteer. I know it doesn't seem as important as being a doctor, but it is important. Very important work. Would I be at a disadvantage for not taking physics in high school? Yes, I would say if you're going to go for a science major, I would say you probably would be if you're going to do anything pre-med related. So I would consider taking physics outside of school, ideally online through UC Scout, the Florida Virtual School, or Brigham Young University. They all have online physics classes you could take with great instructors. And they even have AP physics classes too. Next question, is an unrelated major like journalism okay for the pre-med track? Yes, it's totally fine as long as you're meeting your pre-med requirements in undergrad, and it's good for top medical schools. Another question, do you give consultations to foreign students in the past, and was that fruitful, and did it work for the students? Any experience? Yes, I've worked with lots of foreign students. In fact, I've actually had some years where the majority of my students have been coming in from outside the country, from countries like China, India, Latin American countries, the Middle East. So I do work with lots of foreign students. Okay, so another question, can we finish a science undergraduate and then go for MCAT, which will create the space in medical? Yes, so typically people do a science major in undergrad and then they apply to medical school and go from there. Another question, is there any specific area of research that is especially good to try? Yes, particularly biology, public health, and medicine. Those types of areas are good for research. And then what courses are we supposed to take in pre-med for a rigorous course? So courses like bio, chem, physics, calculus, psychology, the courses that we mentioned earlier. Can I take a class outside of my school that would be helpful for the healthcare program that would still count? Yes, you can always take classes, but be judicious in terms of the time you're going to spend. I have APES in my school. Does that relate to my medical major? Yes, it's medical related, but I wouldn't say you have to take it. So we do have this $19.99 deal. You can get 2 hours working with me and 10 hours of essay support. And this is my email address, john@openadmits.com. Can you keep some of your electives because of your hobbies, or do you suggest that I stop? Of course you can keep your electives, but if you feel like they're distracting from your core academic work, then you should quit. Okay, another question, is a pre-med course and going for science undergrad and going for MCAT all the same? Yes, because it's part of that flow from high school to college to medical school, and the MCAT is what you study for at the very end of college or before medical school when you apply for medical school. So another question, are magnet schools or charter schools appealing to pre-med track colleges? Yes, because there's usually a lot of emphasis on scientific learning, medical exploration, etc. Does having a low GPA in 9th grade impact admissions to pre-med 10th and 11th grade as, let's say, a 4 GPA? Yeah, there is an impact, but if you can show an upward trajectory, you can mitigate that negative impact. So we've had a lot of questions. I think, again, my contact info, if you want to learn more, john@openadmits.com. Anwar, do you have any last few words you'd like to say before I hand it off to the next speaker or yourself?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. John. You gave a very great insight for our kids to have a standout medical profile. Thank you so much. And you're so patient. And also, I was really excited when our kids were asking so many questions. Definitely, these are very active kids, motivated, and are really planning to go towards pre-med direction. So, Mr. John, thank you so much. So, dear parents, so when we are talking about college and education, we also now want to introduce some college saving programs. Mr. Ravi is one of the expert in that college planning and savings. So he is going to take around 10 minutes and going to explain all these savings programs. So, it's not, we are not selling anything anyway. We are just introducing you, educating you. So in either way, we are educating you guys. So thank you so much. Mr. Ravi, you can start.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anwar and others, for allowing me to explain the college planning opportunities, college savings opportunities for all the audience. So let me introduce myself. This is Ravi Shetty from Houston, Texas. So today we are just presenting how you can save the college savings. Moreover, not only savings, you are also getting other benefits with this. Okay. So if you all can see here, these are all my services. Besides college planning, we do like retirement planning, pension planning, and the most important, Oracle laid off 30K people. Amazon laid off 30K people from last few months. So today we are helping each and everyone to start making some passive income, second source of income, residual income. Even the housewives have knowledge also can start doing this business as a part-time. So
Ravi,
today,
can I interrupt? Can you please share your screen so everyone can see what
oh,
you're
sorry.
talking?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Amazon laid off, everybody are impacted. So that is the reason we are helping each and everyone, right? So today our main focus is the college savings. So college savings, when you go to any college admission, you end up filling a FAFSA form. So during the FAFSA application form, you need to declare all your assets, your real estate, your check-in, all the bank accounts, everything you need to declare. And if you have 529, that is the first thing you need to declare. So the 529 meant for college savings. So that means if you have already 529, if you are well planned, the chances of getting the financial aid is very, very less. Even the FAFSA loan is also very less. So to overcome that, we have introduced alternative to 529. So this is one of the alternative to 529 where you can invest, where you can contribute, and it is going to give you 6 different benefits. So let's go through all the benefits. So as I explained, this is just a sample. So I can create, this is the customization uniquely designed for my clients. So you cannot get it this customization anywhere. So we are experts. We are in this business from the last 8+ years. So as a sample, you can start with $1,000 or even you can start with $500 also. So here what we are doing is we started with $1,000 for 10 years. So when you start $1,000 for 10 years, you are going to get your accumulation. So after 11 years, you can take out the money for the first kid college. And similarly for the second kid college, another 25.7. So this is exactly the way you can take out the funds. And this is not going to impact your financial aid or FAFSA loan. Rather, it is going to help because you are moving the 120K away from your bank account to here. That means the probability of getting the financial aid FAFSA loan is more. And whatever the money you are withdrawing is 100% tax free. So this is the money you are getting tax free money. On top of that, you're also getting some insurance. This is the whole life insurance. If you see here, you start with the 209K and even at the age of 85, you have additional 600K almost. Even at the age of 90, you have a 900K coverage. So this is going to cover rest of your life. Even at the age of 100 years, you have $1.9 million coverage. So what is the advantage of this policy? The chances of getting the financial aid FAFSA loan is more, and you are getting the tax-free withdrawal for your kid college planning, and the coverage, the death benefit is tax-free, and the living benefits, chronic, critical, terminal illness also tax-free. So everything, it's a one unique kind of a policy is going to help you to distribute the funds for your kid college. So assume like your kid got a merit scholarship. You don't need to spend or you don't need to use this funds. So the same policy, what we can do, we are not withdrawing. We will just keep it for our retirement. So assume you are planning to retire at 65. So look at the money, how much you are withdrawing. You are withdrawing 74.2K every year for remainder of the next 20 years. So you contributed the same amount, but you are taking out 1.5 million for your retirement planning. Moreover, this money is tax free. You don't pay a penny in the taxes. Even at the age of 90, you have additional 573K coverage. And even at the age of 100, you have additional $1.5 million coverage. So this is the unique policy, customized policy, uniquely designed for our clients. So you all can invest and you can reach out to me and I can share my number here. Whoever are interested, you can reach out to me and we can help you out. So Anwar is going to post my number because its chart is disabled for me. Yeah, it's 281 224 5355. That is my number again, 281-224-5355. So in addition to this, we do many other things. So we are into retirement planning, pension planning. So guaranteed pension, you are going to get guaranteed pension. So assume you invest 100K, you can get about $16,000 to $18,000 every year, guaranteed for rest of your life. That is the pension you are going to get. And we are also specialized in insurance. So we are in like term life and whole life insurance. So many people will charge $1 million whole life insurance. They will charge like 15 to 20,000, but we only charge $4,000 to $5,000. So we are specialized like that, and we do like real estate. So whoever are interested in real estate, yes, approximately you get 18 to 20% returns in our real estate. Currently, we are having two ventures. One is in Houston, one is in Charlotte. So you can reach out to me and I can talk in details. And the health insurance also, we are expert. If anybody need health insurance, we are with United Healthcare. No copay, no deductible, no co-insurance for family of four, $400. So once again, I'm repeating, no copay, no deductible, no co-insurance. If you are a student, you only pay $75. If you are a family of four, you pay around $400 to $450. And we are also into will and trust. Everybody, irrespective of the visa status, you need a will with living trust. So if you don't have it, all your real estate, all your luxury cars, and your US born minor kids will go to probate. So that is a super dangerous. We are here to help you out. And since you are from Test Bandis reps, we can give you 50% discount if you can reach out to us this week. So once again, you will get a will and trust 50% discount. You can reach out to me. And once again, my number is 281-224-5355. Okay. So reach out to me and we are going to give you the 50% offer. So moreover, everybody need second source of income. One income is not working out. Every person. So we are here to help you out. We are here to give you that second source of income, passive income, residual income. So your time is your investment, not the money. So everybody, anybody can join and you can do this business without disturbing your current schedule. So on top of that, we are also helping on IT. If anybody lost the IT jobs, we are also helping them. So IT jobs, definitely we will help you out. And even in the stocks trading, we have portfolio managerial services, multiple real estate ventures. So everything in a one-stop service. So I really want you to have a complimentary one-on-one session. We are also helping your family to build your wealth. So this is something unique, and definitely I really want everybody to create your wealth and make sure you all can make second source of income. It's a one phone call away. Everybody can make the good income. So we are into multiple businesses. One business is not helping. So every business we are into it, even like health insurance, visitor insurance is also great. So definitely you all can reach out to us. Yeah. So Anwar, if you can share my contact number, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm sharing.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say, Anwar.
Thank you so
for
much. Yeah, guys, any college saving, any kind of insurance, or you want something, extra income, Mr. Ravi is helping so many people. We have around 1,500 people like a team across America, and most of them in his team are IT people only, most of them. Okay. So this will also be useful. That is the reason we brought Mr. Ravi into our meeting. Thank you so much, my dear parents and students. Hope that this webinar definitely gave a insight to you. And then, in future, if you need anything, just let us know. Also, you can contact Mr. John. We are going to be with you only. We are going to bring several, experts to educate you. Also, we are going to introduce affordable programs, several programs, so that, you know, you can actually build a standout profile for pre-med. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. John. And open at
So if
Mr.
you think anybody has any question, they can unmute and ask, right?
Yeah. Do you have any questions so that you can ask Mr. Ravi?
Yeah, if anybody
John,
has any questions, you can unmute and you can
John,
ask.
can you unmute if anyone want to ask a question?
Yes, I just made you the host, so you can unmute anyone as the chats come in.
Okay. Okay. I cannot see the chart anyway. Okay. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
They are not
Can you
able
please-
to raise hand or they are not able to chart. So I don't know how you can just.
Yeah, so in the chat, folks, so even though chat is disabled, if you click on the chat box at the bottom, if somebody enters a question in the chat, it should pop up on your screen, Anwar, and then you can read it. And so individual names.
Okay. So do you have any questions? Please let us know.
Yeah, you can message Anwar and you can also message, I'm going to make Ravi, I'm going to make you a host as well.
Okay. Yeah. My chart is going now.
Oh, it's going out. Yeah, I'll actually.
Anwar should make me as a co-host so that I can fix it. Anwar, you can make me as a co-host if there is any.
Because in the meeting, I don't know how to do that.
No, just select my name and three dots and make it co-host.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Ravi?
Okay. Yeah, basically it's all grayed out,
Okay,
right?
Ravi.
Okay, let me see. So I made
Jay,
you.
Anya, anyone, Madhavi, Sudha. If you have questions, let us know.
So I made everybody. You can all can unmute if anybody has any questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also posting Mr. number in the WhatsApp group we have created. So you have any further questions, let us know. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. John.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, you have the phone number, guys, here.